In this video, I will be talking about a specific chief for my Indian War section by the name of Sitting Bull. I will be talking about a person by the name of Billy the Kid for the people section of the Outlaws. I'll also be talking about a specific invention called steel for my invention section. And lastly, I will be talking about the railroads for my big businesses and city section. Enjoy. When I had the chance of learning about the Indian Wars in class, a certain person stood out to me more than anything else did. This person's name is Sitting Bull. Now, the reason that Sitting Bull stood out to me more than Crazy Horse or anyone else that we learned about was because he took a different approach. When I say he took a different approach, I mean that he did this thing and he made sure that the women and the children of the tribe were safe, so that Crazy Horse could take 3,000 Indian men and they could go win the Battle of Little Bighorn. Now, an interesting fact that I found about Sitting Bull when I was looking him up was that he was also named Jumping Badger, which I think is so cool and unique, and that's just such a cool thing that I could learn about, because the Indian tribe known of the Sioux have so many different things that other tribes don't have. And they also, something else that I find really cool about them, not just calling him Jumping Badger, but they also look at him as a spiritual and political leader. They look up to him for his bravery and the actions that he did. Also, a little known fact that not a lot of people actually know was he was a Huckpapa local leader, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope I am. But I got to read many sources about him, and so many interesting facts I got to learn about him. And those are just a few facts that I got to learn that I thought were super interesting. So I really want to show you a picture of what Sitting Bull looks like, and then I'll just get right into the Outlaws of Billy the Kid. So that was a picture of Sitting Bull. So now that I'm done talking about the Indian Wars, I'm going to go straight into Outlaws. The reason I'm so excited to talk about Outlaws is because there's one person that I can't wait to tell you about. This person's name is Billy the Kid. Now, when I think about Billy the Kid, I think about a kid who has a lot of movies. If you didn't know, he has 15 different movies that are made about him. I read that in a Google source, and I believe it because I've seen some of them advertised, okay? So I think that he has 15 movies because of all the crazy things he did. Now, if you didn't know, he was a foster kid, which is so weird to me because when you think about it, a foster kid always wants a family. So one day he's a foster kid, and the next day he's killing families. So he's looking for a family, and then he's killing families. That just is so bizarre to me, okay? Also, he escaped jail twice. Not one time, but 2 times. Some people can't even escape once. He escaped twice, and he's a teenager. That is so crazy. Also, he had his own gang. He was so famous that people formed a gang with him, and he was the leader, I guess. But his gang was called the Rustlers. Now, that's a very odd name to me. I don't know why they named themselves that, but he had his own gang, okay? Also, when he died, he didn't really die as his alive self said. A few years after he died, he told this other person that he was alive, but they were like, no, you're dead. But he's like, no, I'm alive. That was not real. So that's why I thought that Billy the Kid was so interesting. I don't know what you think, but I just think he's so cool. And so now that I'm done talking about Billy the Kid, I would love to talk about inventions. A certain invention that I think is super awesome is steel. But before I talk to you about steel, I would love to show you a picture of this Billy the Kid, because even though he's a kid and even though he likes to goof around and kill people. I think he is so interesting, and I think that you should see a picture of him. So, in the next slide, you're going to see a picture of Billy the Kid, and then I'll see you so that I can talk about Steel. So, now that I've got to talk to you about a Indian war chief and a certain outlaw by the name of Billy the Kid, which I just showed you a picture of, I only have 2 more things to talk to you about before I have to say goodbye. So, before I talk about a big business, which I'm so excited to talk to you about, I cannot wait, I'm going to tell you about a invention by the name of steel. Now, the guy who invented it, which he really didn't invent it, he kind of just founded it, is by the name of Andrew Carnegie, which is a very weird last name. I don't even understand it. Okay, but when he found steel, it was so mind-boggling, right? Bow. The reason it was so mind-boggling was because before he founded it, there was 2 types of metal. There was versatile and not strong, or there was strong and not versatile. But guess what steel is? Steel is strong and versatile. And so when people found this out, right? Listen here. When people found out how strong and versatile it is, they were like, guys, this is mind-boggling. We have to do something with this, right? So this helped the expansion of America, which this is why I think this is so cool, right? I guess America was already expanded, but people were like, guys, we're going to go make cities out of this. And after we make cities, we're going to make urban infrastructures, right? So now that they found the steel, they can make big buildings. They can make skyscrapers, which was literally like the thing that everyone in America was trying to get their hands on, were skyscrapers. So now that they have skyscrapers, now they can build these big, big, big things. These big, big, big towers, I guess. And I'm going to show you a few pictures of like what it looked like in the beginning, like what steel making looked like, and some really old like towers from then. So enjoy the pictures. And after that, I'll see you with my last topic, which is going to be big businesses. And that is going to be the time I have to say goodbye. So I hope you enjoyed all those images, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video so far. But before I let you go, I'm going to tell you about one more thing, and that's railroads. So railroads helped settlement of the West, right? Which seems so odd because in class, we were taught that the ride from, like, let's say up here to down here was cheaper from here to here. And that's because here to here was more popular than here to here. So this wasn't going to make as much money as here to here. So even though this is longer, right? Not as many people are going to be riding it. So you're not going to make more money if you charge more from here to here. So even though they were going to the west to make expansion, I guess they didn't really make as much money unless they changed it, right? So this caused a production boom. So just like I told you, now we have steel. Now we can build skyscrapers. That means let's build skyscrapers everywhere because it wouldn't be American if we weren't greedy. But in the best way possible, right? We're just trying to make the best country here. Okay? So now that I've shared a little bit about railroads, I'm going to share about a person that I think is super, super, super interesting, okay? This guy goes by the name of Stanford. Now, he invested heavily in the Transcontinental Railroad, which was a very good idea for him because these things were booming, okay? That's like if you were to invest in Bitcoin nowadays, because he was going to become like super well known and everyone was like, wow, that was a great idea, okay? And And also, another fact that I found about him when I was looking him up is in 1861. 1861 was a long time ago. This guy was so smart for a long time ago. Okay, in 1861, he also tried to become the president of the Central Pacific Railroad, which I didn't do a bunch of research on that because I was trying to find research on other things. But I do have extra time now, so I'm going to go research more of that. But I think it's so crazy because if he was trying to become the president of the Central Pacific Railroad, he knows that it's going to go somewhere. He already knows how important the Transcontinental Railroad is. So now he's trying to get even more into the railroads. He's trying to dig even more deeper. And he's trying to get into the Central Pacific Railroad. So now that I've told you about the Sitting Bull, the guy, amazing guy, by the way. I told you about Billy the Kid, interesting kid, so crazy. I showed you pictures of both of them. I also told you a little bit about Andrew Carnegie, and I told you why steel is so important to Americans. And by the way, if you don't know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are called the Pittsburgh Steelers because the steel was made in Pittsburgh. So that is so cool to me. Okay, and then I also shared with you about the railroads and a little bit of a guy named Stanford. So I hope that you learned a bunch, and I hope that you took some away from this. And if you did, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you.